We head to the third inning, and Baker takes the mound for the Gold. We see Henry Baker from Agoura Hills, California, the big lefty.
Baker 6'2", 205 pounds, Agoura Hills, California.
And Brett Heilman at the plate. One ball, one strike. There's a good look at new pitcher Henry Baker.
Collecting himself there. Gets out, gets hitter out a little bit on a slow curve ball.
And the easy grab made out in center field by Bonifacio. And there's one out.
Baker.
The pitching has been very good today.
Yeah, that's yesterday. To be quite honest, there were. I thought the level of pitching was a little uneven in a number of different factors. So far today, it's been outstanding. And one thing, I don't know how much you've talked about it in the other games with Todd and Ben, but one of the main functions, it's a main function for Perfect Game. It's really on a lot of the players' minds. It's certainly not a priority for scouts and coaches, but certainly a factor in the showcase is this is really the final casting call, so to speak, for the Perfect Game All-American Classic, which is held in San Diego at Petco Field this year on August the 12th. And coming into this event, we had selected about, I think, 13 players out of the 40 kids that will be eventually selected. But this is where those last 27, for the most part, are going to be picked. And the high-level players here are aware of that. And being selected as a Perfect Game All-American is perhaps the top honor before the draft that any of these kids can have.
Well, Ryan Kirby goes down looking. And that brings to the plate
Make sure I'm in on that.
Brian Neveretto. Neveretto from Jacksonville, Florida, stands in.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention any names of players now because I'm only a small part of the selection process. But there were a few guys in that first game that stood out that are going to be talked to later today. Maybe have already been talked to about being a member of that All-American team. Henry Baker here is more of a crafty lefty. We saw Jonah Wesley before throwing 90 to 92. Baker's more of a 84, 85 type guy. Move the ball around, change speeds, spot the ball on the outside corner, slow down the hitter's bats. Sometimes you see those pitchers who throw 90, 92. When they get hit hard, they get hit hard because they're speeding up hitters' bats. A guy like Baker who can change speeds, hitters aren't swinging as hard. And that's almost a nice grab out there in left center field.
It's going all the way to the wall, and this will be 3. Heck, it might be 4. They're going to wave him home. Here comes the throw. No, they're going to hold him up. Boy, he rounded it and looked like he wanted home, but was held up, and probably wisely so. But Neveretto has the stand-up triple.
Yes, and I will say that is catcher Brian Neveretto. So maybe if we'd had an fleet-footed outfielder there, we could have seen an inside-the-park home run. But
and Neveretto moves pretty well for a catcher.
He does. We saw that behind the plate, his quickness, very athletic, and obviously swings a good bat. Another one of the very impressive catchers. But
not cheating on his swing there is Danny Bronco.
Yeah, if we could get an idea who's in left field right now, they move around so much. That was almost an outstanding catch. And we'll try to hone in and see who's out there in left field.
They switch on us every inning. Might be in left field one inning and center the next.
Yeah, so for especially for the family and parents listening out there, your son's out on the field somewhere, but he's probably going to be at a different place every inning. So
exactly. Blanco from Jacksonville, Florida, middle infielder. Bats right, throws right. Arlington Country Day High School. Fouls that one off.
I'm going to take a stab that is Charlie Yorks out there in left field, and we'll see.
Well, we'll see that he's left-handed. So
yeah, and I just looked down for all the left-handed outfielders, and he seems to be the only candidate.
Fits the bill.
So we are located up above the regular baseball press box here in the Metrodome. Number 30, I'm incorrect there. Number 31, Corey Ray.
He had about a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, he just barely got the glove on it, which just served to knock the ball a little farther away from the center fielder, Kyle Carruthers. But Corey Ray almost with the outstanding catch. We'll see if Christian...
Fastball cuts right over the inside part of the plate. So that'll do it in the third for the Maroon. We head to the bottom of the third, and it's still 2-0 Gold.
We are here in the top of the fourth inning, and for the next 3 innings, we will have the pleasure of having on the air one of the legends in this area of the baseball business, Mr. Alan Simpson. Alan's the National Director of PG Crosschecker for Perfect Game, known to many around the industry as the founder of Baseball America and longtime editor. And really a gentleman who revolutionized the way that the draft is covered, high school and college baseball, minor league baseball was covered and shown to the fans. And Alan, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, David.
Could you imagine 30-some years ago when you founded Baseball America out of your garage that we'd now be streaming live showcases from Major League parks to fans literally all over the world?
Not a chance. Yeah, we have come a long way. I can certainly say that from even the very beginning of showcase events, which really happened in the mid to late 80s.
So for Gold, Henry Baker on the mound, pitching his second inning. Baker, a finesse lefty, throwing in basically the mid-80s, 84, 85, maybe turns it over a two-seamer at 82, 81. Gets a ground ball there from Eric Williams. One away in the top of the fourth inning. Now, one of the things, of course, Alan, that you have been so closely connected to is the draft. And we are still a year away with all these players from the draft. And so much has been happening with the draft lately, with the changes. Tell the fans a little bit as they're looking forward to their draft here, the parents listening of these players. What are some of the things that have changed with the draft in the last couple of years?
Well, the draft has really been revolutionized through, I guess, more so this last year than any other year. But we've seen a number of changes through the years with the draft. But I really have to think the latest changes of the collective bargaining agreement have seen more changes go into place. The main thing that they were looking at was cost containment, and I think that's probably going to be executed to for the most part this year. You're not going to see some of these high school players drafted after the 10th round get these 7-figure bonuses anymore. So I think that's as much as anything we've seen.
Malik Callymore, number 3, up there for Maroon. From Canada, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Alan being a native of Canada, British Columbia.
But I think one of the good aspects of what we've seen with the draft this time, I think we have 13 first-rounders signed. That's more than what were signed a day before the signing period, even in last year's draft. So I think these players are going out immediately and signing. I think that's one of the purposes of what teams wanted to see, is get these kids out playing instead of sitting out for the summer.
Yeah, in past years with an August 15th deadline or even a first day of classes in the fall deadline, you'd see kids who basically lost 2 or 3 months of playing time between the draft and when they actually, were professional baseball players.
Well, that's a valuable year or summer of development, I think, is what big league clubs were looking at. They're just, these players were just sitting doing nothing for the summer, and at 18, 19 years old, I don't think that's best for your overall development. Yeah,
and a player, just, as people listening are familiar with, a player like Trevor Kahn, who's up at the plate now, he might end up this summer playing 75, 80, even 100 games over the course of the summer, and all of a sudden you take a player like that who's used to playing and he sits for a few months. That's a big change.
Well, it's not always the worst thing that happened, especially in the case of some pitchers that whose arms were dragging by June, that they were just given some time off. But I think for the most part, they want these kids, any kids, pitchers, position players, out playing.
No doubt. Got 2 outs already here in the top of the fourth, where this game's moving along quickly. We've seen a lot of good pitching today. Anybody really stand out for you so far?
Well, we're seeing a contrast in left-handers now versus Jonah Wesley, who was certainly impressive the previous left-hander from California that we saw.
Yeah, and that's Baker has a 1-2-3 in the top of the fourth.